Two people, same year, same amount of money, $10,000. The first one puts it all into one stock. A company he's used his whole life. He knows the product. He trusts the brand. He's not gambling. He's investing in something real. The second person splits that same $10,000 across 20 different companies, some she's never even heard of. 10 years later, the first man's stock is up 400%. He's a genius. He tells everyone at dinner parties about it. The second woman's portfolio is up 110%. By every measure that matters at the dinner table, he won. So why, when you actually run the numbers on what happens next, is she the one who's still investing 10 years after that? And he isn't. Here's the thing about concentrated bets. They feel like conviction. They feel like knowledge. Spreading your money across 20 companies feels like the opposite. Like you don't know enough to pick the right one. Like you're hedging because you're scared. That's the story most people tell themselves about diversification. It's what you do when you're not confident. The real players, the story goes, find the one great company and go all in. And for a while, the story holds up. Concentrated bets produce the loudest winners. Every "I turned $5,000 into $2 million" story you've ever seen online was a concentrated bet. Nobody makes a viral video about the guy who owned 20 boring companies and got an average return. So, the belief calcifies. Diversification is for people who don't know what they're doing. But that belief is built on survivorship. For every concentrated bet that becomes a dinner party legend, there are others, quietly, without a video, that went to zero. You just never hear from those people. They don't do interviews. Think about someone who worked at a well-known photography company in the early 2000s. Decades of dividends. A pension plan tied to company stock. Employees who put their retirement savings into shares of the place they worked, because who understood that business better than they did? It wasn't a reckless decision. It was, by every normal standard, an informed one. And then, digital photography arrived, and within a few years, the company that had defined an entire industry was gone. The people who'd concentrated their savings there didn't lose because they were foolish. They lost because they were confident about the wrong thing, confident the company was good, when the actual risk was that being good wouldn't be enough. Here's the rule. Diversification is actually built on, and it has almost nothing to do with which company is best. You cannot know in advance which specific bet will be the one that ruins you. Not which one is risky. You often know that part. What you can't know is which specific risk actually materializes. And finance has a name for the distinction. There's risk you can diversify away, and risk you can't. The first kind is the risk that's unique to one company. A lawsuit, a bad product launch, a fraud nobody saw coming. The second kind is the risk that hits everything at once. A recession, a pandemic, inflation. Spreading your money across many companies doesn't lower the second kind of risk at all. The market still goes down in a crash, no matter how diversified you are. What diversification actually kills is the first kind. The risk that one specific company you happen to trust turns out to be the exception. The man with the concentrated bet wasn't wrong that his company would do well. He was wrong to assume that knowing a company was good was the same as knowing it wouldn't be the one that fails. Those are different skills. Almost nobody has the second one. Not analysts, not fund managers, not the company's own employees. Diversification isn't a confession that you don't know anything. It's an admission that nobody can know the one thing that would actually matter. Once you see this, you start noticing it everywhere, not just in stocks. Careers. Someone who builds their entire income around one employer, one client, one skill that's currently in demand, is running the same concentrated bet. It might pay off for a decade, but the moment that one thing gets disrupted, the client leaves, the skill gets automated. There's nothing underneath it. Debt. Someone who takes on a large loan assuming their income will only ever go up is making a bet that nothing in their life will be the exception. Illness, layoffs, a slow year. The debt doesn't care why. It just needs the one thing to go wrong. Even everyday spending follows it. People who put all their trust and money into one relationship, one landlord, one subscription, one supplier, are all making the same wager. This specific thing won't be the one that fails me. The rule is always the same. Concentration wins loudly, right up until the one time it doesn't. And you never know in advance which time that is. This isn't a theory, it's measurable. Historically, individual stocks fail far more often than the broader stock market does. Look at any list of the biggest companies from 40 years ago. Most of them no longer exist in that form, acquired, bankrupt, or forgotten. Meanwhile, the overall market, thousands of companies pooled together, has continued to grow across every multi-decade period. That's not because the market is smarter. It's because when one company in the pool fails, the others absorb it. The pool doesn't need every member to succeed. It just needs the failures to not all happen to the same person at the same time. That's the entire mechanism. Diversification doesn't increase your average outcome. What it does is remove the possibility of the catastrophic outcome, the one where the single thing you bet everything on happens to be the exception. There's a reason people resist this even after seeing the numbers. Psychologists call it the illusion of control. The tendency to feel safer about outcomes we can influence, even when our influence has nothing to do with the actual risk. Picking a single company feels like an act of skill. Spreading money across many feels like giving up that skill. But the data doesn't reward the feeling of control. It rewards the actual removal of a specific kind of exposure. The comfort of concentration and the safety of diversification are answering two completely different questions, and only one of them was ever about protecting you. If you're in your 20s or 30s, this rule should change something specific about how you think. Not just about investing, but about how much of your life you let depend on one input. It's not about being timid. It's about recognizing that confidence in a single choice and certainty about a single choice are two completely different things, and only one of them actually protects you. The question isn't, which one thing should I trust completely? The question is, if this one thing turned out to be the exception, would the rest of my life still be standing? That question applies to your investments. It applies to your income. It applies to who and what you've quietly built your whole financial identity around. There's a second question worth sitting with, too. Which of my current confidences am I mistaking for certainty? Not, am I making bad decisions? Most concentrated bets are made by people making perfectly reasonable decisions with the information they have. The failure isn't in the decision. It's in forgetting that being right most of the time is not the same as being right the one time it counts. Once you separate those two things, you stop asking, what's the best bet, and start asking, what's the bet I can afford to be wrong about? The man at the dinner party wasn't wrong about his stock. He was wrong about something he never even thought to ask. What happens the one time he's the exception? The rule was never about which bet is smartest. It was about which future you can still walk into when the bet you were so sure about turns out to be the one that wasn't.